what you don't have. When you are talking about integrity, you are really talking about the real person, who that person is.
When you talk of integrity, you talk of honesty. To be honest. And to be honest means to be trustworthy, to be truthful. And politics is science and art of government.
Politics is about the people.
Yes.
And if you talk about it in a deeper sense, it has to do with how people take decisions on how to lead themselves.
Good day, viewers, and welcome to this episode of Christians in Politics. Violence between Fulani herdsmen and farmers is one of Nigeria's most persistent security problems that has left thousands of people dead in recent times. The International Crisis Group think tank has warned that it could become as potentially dangerous as the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. The clashes are driven by a range of factors, from environmental to political and to religious. For decades, herders and farmers mainly live in peace, but that is not the case today. Each time there is an outbreak of violence, the Nigerian government has always promised to crack down on the perpetrators, but previous perpetrators have never been punished. Individual states are now trying to introduce new laws with mixed results. Benue, Taraba, Ekiti State have introduced a ban on open grazing, and this has angered others who said it threatens their way of life. Nigeria is a country split almost evenly between a mainly Muslim north and a largely Christian south, and religious tension bubbles constantly below the surface. Many Nigerians, and especially lawmakers playing identity politics, insist on the fact that the herders are mostly Muslim, while the farmers are mainly Christians. President Muhammadu Buhari has warned against what he says is simplistic reductionism, but he has been accused of not acting decisively because he is a Fulani man. This latest round of attack has cemented the perception that the federal government, particularly the Buhari administration, is biased in favor of the herdsmen. Many feel Buhari is not addressing the herdsmen conflict as decisive as he did with the Boko Haram, the IPOB in the east, and the Niger Delta militants. Whether this is arising as incapacity or complacency or complicity is open to question. Today, we shall be looking at the deadly influx of killer herdsmen in Nigeria. And with me to talk on this issue is architect Utsaha Lawrence, a former General Secretary, Vanguard Against Thief Massacre in Benue State. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
And with me again is a regular analyst on this program, Venerable J.O. Nwaya JP, the Director of Civic and Political Affairs, Church of Nigeria. Daddy, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, and I remain your presenter, Korede Akitunde. So let's roll. It's not something new we are discussing today, and it's something that has been going on, and as a station, we've decided to follow up on all these developing stories about the killer herdsmen. And of recent, it seems the worst is what we are seeing. And architect, I will ask you, as someone from a state that is worst hit by these attacks, what do you think is going on?
Thank you for that question. And I will do a protocol I always do every other time. We've been on this crisis for well over 7-8 years. And if not for the intervention of the media, that has always put it in the forefront. Like when we started, it was relegated by several governments. So on every opportunity, I want to commend the media for putting it in the forefront, so that people know what is particularly happening. In Benue, for instance, when it was happening in some of the other local governments, many people did not know until the outrage that took place in Agatu. That was when people felt this thing started in Benue, but it had started long before then. So what is going on can be looked at from several perspectives. But as I like to summarize it to impunity and the lack of punitive measures taken on people who go against the laws of the land. We are running a system that does not punish wrong, and so it makes people to go along with this wrong to the extent that it becomes unthinkable that these kind of things are happening. So I would say it's impunity, be it under the guise of politics, be it under the guise of economic struggle, be it under the guise of an expansionist theory. It's all about impunity. If there was punishment for it, if we had a government that can call itself a government, we wouldn't have all of this going on. It's pure impunity, criminality.
And Venerable, will you support that statement, sir, on this?
I think what is going on is impunity of the highest order, and it's taking us back to the Stone Age, where the one who has might can take it all. I've never seen a situation like this before, where people are moving on the street with multipurpose machine guns, killing innocent people, macheting people in the name of whatever they call it. And these people, nothing tangible is being done. Nigerians are becoming helpless and confused. You see tears running daily. You open the television, check the newspapers, go into the social media. You know that this country is really mourning. This country is really crying, and there's no help coming from any quarters. I was reading through the media yesterday about the recent onslaught in Kogi State by these killer herdsmen, where a royal father was killed, and other people in the community. And one of the eyewitnesses said these things were happening. They made a distress call to the security personnel, and he summarized by saying that it's like the security personnel deployed is on a sit-down look mission. That where this massacre was going on was just about 5 minutes drive to the police and the security posts, and yet distress call was made to them. There was no response, and these people had their day for over 2 hours. They were busy burning, killing, massacring people, and nothing is being done. What do you call that? That is impunity of a lawlessness of the highest order. We're almost being thrown into the state of anarchy already as a country. And that's why I say I support his statement in its entirety. Any government that is worth calling that name must rise up to his feet and do something drastic about this. Irrespective of the affinity, it doesn't matter. Whoever is in government today were elected by Nigerians, not by a particular tribe, not by herdsmen. And one of the primary charge of government is the security of the people. So if the government cannot do that, what do you call that? That is a colossal failure. And Nigerians are getting disappointed by the day. And those of us in the public domain who have the privilege of listening to people come to us to share their thoughts on issues. We can jolly tell you that Nigerians are not happy.
But let's go to some of the areas we have highlighted in the introduction. Looking at it environmental-wise, is it actually justifiable to look at the environmental situation in the north, which is pushing these people towards the south and the middle belt?
I would say environmental factors did not happen overnight. It's always been there. We've read about the Lake Chad Basin receding. Yes, you have environmental factors, but you don't now attend to environmental factors that are caused by human activity by relying on nature. Yes, we have population explosion. Yes, we have development. This is very true. Taking over most of the lands around. You have impact of construction schemes. That is my area. But then, when you know that something is happening, you create mitigants. There is irrigation. You don't now rely on natural rainfall to regrass the land when you know that there are environmental challenges. You create catalysts that can overcome, reduce the negative in such a point that you have a positive. Who says we can't have irrigation over there? We have Fadama farming along the banks of the river. They don't rely on the rainfall. They rely on measures of getting water from the river banks and watering these flower plants. Who says we cannot have... that even takes us to what we keep saying, ranching. If environmental factors have caused us to default into this situation, ranching is a very good way of overtaking it. Sometimes we say it sounds awkward, but that is the truth. Sambisa forest is as big, is 10 times or 5 times bigger than Lagos State. There's nothing happening there. Who says we cannot create or cause to be created irrigation processes there where you can ranch cattle there? But the situation we have is a lifestyle that has been, that should be phased out, is being refused this phasing out. The time when, how old is Abuja? Abuja was created first in 1976, about 40 years ago. The grazing routes you talk about pass through the same Abuja. I remember reading somewhere where it was said that even the Aso Rock is on a grazing route. So do you now scrape it away because you want to graze cattle? We are refusing to live with the realities on ground. We evolve, but we are refusing to apply these in some of those things that make us comfortable. Ranching, you may say, is expensive. That's why you love open grazing, where you run your cattle everywhere, you don't spend no monies, and then at the end of the day, you make so much profit without paying any taxes. I think this is where we have a problem. We don't want to invest in these things, but we want to reap our maximum. So I wouldn't blame the environmental completely. It's still the impunity. Whatever way you go around it, you still come back to impunity. If there were checks, we won't be talking about this. And is that a justification for killing a life?
So can we say that it is this government or previous failures of past governments?
It's a build-up. Like I said when I started, it's over 10, 15 years, about 10 years. My village was first burnt down in February 2012. It was not this government. Perhaps that is what pushed some of us to say, oh, a Fulani man is coming in. He will speak to his brothers in a way that they would not repeat this. But then even at that, there's something we noticed. The security fabric of this country is always tilted in a particular direction. And I don't know why our eyes were never open to it. You always have a particular group of people heading the security agency. The National Security Advisor is from a particular section. In this case, yeah, it's regrettable because virtually all of the heads of the security apparatus that would have affected positively in checking this are from a particular strata of the country. There's a time when it was only a certain general who could only be a National Security Advisor, government come, government go. So this is a gradual build-up. It's a gradual build-up that started years back, not with this government, but has grown horns and taken a sort of, I don't even know how to put it, but it has now gotten to a point where it cannot really be curtailed as it would have in the past, but it has terribly grown horns in this particular administration.
Venerable, looking at the body language as it has been always used of the government, and with what we see this government has done, especially in the case of Benue State, in which killings took place early January, and the president didn't visit until there was an outcry. until March. Is the government actually being biased?
Action, they say, speaks louder than words. Nigerians can only interpret what they are saying. And any person in Aso Rock, you know that he's dancing in the public and people are watching. How can you say you have a country where we have a president and 72 persons are murdered and they have been buried in the state? Benue is how many kilometers from Abuja? So, and the president cannot get to that very no point. How many months did it take him to get there? The issue of Agatu happened, that, as he said earlier, that brought this whole thing to the fore, especially in Benue. Did government really visit? When there was a massacre in the east by these same people, did the president visit? We have how many IDP camps in Nigeria today? How many of them has the president of this country visited? So how many of a really high-profile government persons have visited this IDP camp to just sympathize with the people? So the question, this is even more than body language. It's more than body language. And we expected the president to have even done more, because the people being fingered in this matter are his own people. So how many people have been arrested and prosecuted? Have you ever taken gone on a visit to prison yards and all that to see people who are there? There are people who stole ordinary fowl, a chicken, and they have been behind the bar for 5 years. People who stole just wristwatch. People maybe who issued a statement like that was perceived by the opponent as a threat. And they arrested them, and police say, okay, let's charge the matter to collect the person, be reminded, and from there let him become. Then if you have people like that, thousands or thousands of people like that there, then you are talking about people that are killing people, macheting people. When you are reading about these things, sometimes you are amazed. They slit their necks, they even cut off vital organs from the bodies of their victims. They go to community, burn down the whole community, everything there, and yet they are walking freely about. And when you are talking about body language of government, we have been in Nigeria. Is it not clear that these people suddenly threw caution overboard for the past 3 years? Because they feel that one of their own is in authority. And that is the more reason why government have to do extra work to correct the impressions that is being created in the minds of Nigerians. So for me, it's more than body language. You cannot have the country burning and a president is in Aso Rock or go around the world. What is the purpose of governance if people are dying here and there? For me, this recent visit, I have a problem with it. Because at least I'm Director for Civic and Political Affairs for the Church of Nigeria for about 8 years now. So that has made me consciously to be watching political developments. So for me, this recent visit, I look at it as politics of 2019. We have to be frank. You don't need to wait till this time before you begin to pay visit. And by the way, when the visit was done, how many of the IDP camps were visited? How many of the communities that were burned down were visited? That's why I was not particularly happy with the governor of Benue. When I saw them a few days to the visit of Mr. President, they were tying road to the airport. I don't know what kind of impression they were trying to create. People are mourning and crying, mass burials going on by the day in a state. Then you are tying the road to the airport because the president of this country wants to visit the place. And he simply drove from the airport to the State House, then from the State House, went back to the airport and took off. And you call that a visit? Let's be frank. We should not push people to the wall. Let's be frank. That is my point. Let's be frank. I'm not a politician, but what is going on in the political arena is becoming painful to Nigerians. And in 2019, you'll be calling people out to vote. Nigerians are becoming completely disenchanted with people who are in the corridors of power. And the earlier they wake up and do something, the better.
Can I just say something?
Okay, sir.
I really need to bring it home.
Okay.
These killings took place on January 1st and January 2nd.
Okay.
Mr. President strolled, he didn't visit, and I agree with you. He strolled into Benue on March 12th. That's about 10 weeks after the killings took place.
That is not fair.
10 weeks. And he didn't visit Benue. He strolled into the government house in Makurdi, landed at the airport. Yes, the road was patched overnight up till the morning he came in, sad. He drove to the government house, had a meeting there. He spoke for about 3 minutes, drove back to the airport, and returned to Abuja to have a meeting with the U.S. Secretary. And some of us felt really insulted and incensed. The day you want to visit a Benue where 73 people were buried on January 11th, and another 26 were penciled down to be buried and were buried last week in Okpoku, is the same day you fix a meeting with a foreign envoy so that you can come, you can dash into Benue and go out. And along that same route, from the Air Force base in Makurdi to the government house, there's the Benue State University Teaching Hospital that has a lot of the victims that he could not even visit and condole. And then from Makurdi to the IDP camp that was set up by the Presidential Committee on Flood Relief is less than 15 kilometers from Makurdi. Agan village is 9 kilometers from Burukum roundabout. Agan village is less than 5 kilometers to the IDP camp. Mr. President could not visit and see these people, despite the kind of security he brought to the state. It was an insult to our face for many of us. And we were particularly pained when we watched him on TV and he insulted Benue people. But I was shocked those who were there were applauding him. He said he wasn't going to make any promises until when he comes back, if he's coming back in 2019. Purely political. Purely political. You see, and I still want to insist that it's impunity, because if you go back to history, Benue gave President Shagari his third highest votes in the 1979 elections. Shagari was inaugurated October 1, 1979. By February 4th, Shagari was in Benue, February 4th, 1980. About 4 months later, he was in Benue on a thank you visit. Benue was a PDP state before the general elections, but voted overwhelmingly for APC. And the president has not visited Benue except for this stroll. It's an insult to the people, purely political.
Now, let's start possibly moving into the political aspect of these things. Some are of the opinion that in Nigeria, what we see these days is that security matters become so passionate and intense when it's getting to electioneering period. This same thing happens in the previous administration. And this was actually what the present government rode on to be in position today. The issue of Boko Haram in the northeast was what the government rode on, and the three cardinal areas of the government is insecurity, to tackle insecurity, the economic issue, and corruption. So can we say that there are some political games underneath these problems we see around?
It's absolutely not impossible. One, when crises like this happen, a lot of money is pumped into it. And so it can actually be a guise for you to release money for political expedition, this is possible. 2, it is also possible for you to use this same exercise, these activities, to unsettle a people you are almost certain will vote against you. I'll give you an instance. My polling unit, where I vote, I cannot go there right now. So assuming this insecurity subsists until the elections, it means I'm going to be disenfranchised. And not just me, several other people. You know, Goma local government, Daudu, where all the IDPs, most of the people displaced from my own area. I'm from Tepila, Yagba. Tepila, my village, is 46 kilometers to the heart of Makurdi town. I dare not go there. Uikpam is about 35 kilometers from the town. This is where I vote. I dare not go there. So it has that negative angle too. And then 3, which is painful and inhumane, is the fact that when politicians realize they have not done anything positive, they at least try to create some negativity to gain some positivity from it. And this is the perception of fifth columnists. I give you an instance.
Okay, can you hold on there for this caller from Jos? Hello.
Please, we in Plateau State, we are not happy over what is happening in Plateau State regarding the Fulani Herdsmen. You know, it's as if the government is not even bothered about it. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, when he came to Plateau State, he is aware of all the threat, you know, that is going on in Nigeria, most especially in Plateau State, by the Fulani Herdsmen. But he didn't do anything about it. You understand? So my main problem is that the Christians are not united. That is my problem. But if only the Christians will be united, then I don't think we'll have any problem. However, let us keep on praying for the nation. And we believe that God is going to change every threat of the Fulani Herdsmen. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's a caller from Jos. Okay, so you
I was talking about the inhumane angle of politics of relief materials. You know, you now have politicians flocking into the areas that are affected. People who have not done anything for their people in the last 3 years, they suddenly buy some supplies and give the impression of being humane. That is, you allow a negativity or even cause it to happen so that you will be able to assuage the feelings of the people without adding any value. I was reading on yesterday on Twitter, and I'm told that the government has promised to recover the Dapchi girls in the next 1 week. 2 weeks. Now, if the Dapchi girls come back, the impression would be that the government has done again. Whereas we would not be assessing the fact that this shouldn't even have happened ab initio. It shouldn't have happened. So it's really political. Either the sides of trying to get the supplies and giving people an impression that you are doing something, or create a negativity and then try to paint a picture of doing something good for your people. It's politics.
Variable, you are also very close to the politicians in the National Assembly. Do you see any political gimmicks in this?
Don't be surprised that at the 11th hour, when they're very close to the election period, this situation will be fully arrested. Don't be surprised about that. You know what happened in the last government? There was a lot of politics played around Boko Haram. I've said it on air here before. Jonathan government wanted to bring Boko Haram under control as soon as he came on board. But there was a foul cry from the up north that is trying to reduce the population of the northeast and is in preparation for 2015. And so immediately it slowed down, and the Boko Haram agents were spreading, erecting flags here and there, taking over territories. But when it was getting close to 2015, the same political elders up north changed the tune and said how can you vote for a man who could not put Boko Haram under control? So a president who could not stop Boko Haram is not worthy to come back. It became a political issue. And that was when Boko Haram, the last government gave an order that all those flags should be uprooted. Otherwise, how could the election have taken place in the northeast? And you see the figures that were declared from the northeast. I was privileged to be at the National Collation Center. I was in the International Conference Center when results were being brought from different states. And you could see that the result of election from the northeast, a place that was thought to be under siege, was even higher than the result from other places. What that one gives to you is that Boko Haram, if we are to use the word decimated or whatever, or technically defeated, was really defeated 5 months, 6 months before 2015 general election. That was why election was able to take place there. So all these things have political undertone. Don't be surprised that before 2019, a strict order will be given that none of this killing should take place again, and that the soldiers, the military, the police, everyone that has some business to do with security should ensure that these people are contained. And when that one is done, it will be a plus. It will be a plus. It's like the dark guess you just talk about. Don't be surprised before 2019 election. See, we are tired of all this sink and hide game we are playing in Nigeria. You see, we are no longer in the old ages where people were not educated. Anything you tell Nigerians, they take. At least, I was talking to a very prominent person, say, I go school. I wrote a letter, I gave it to him, and he read through this letter, so now I rewrite this very letter. So I went and adjusted. When I brought it back, he said, no, I read through this letter, go and rewrite it. So the third time I brought the letter, I was really adjusting the letter, thinking I was doing what I was asked to do. Then he read through and said, oh, no, you're not only you go school. Me too, go school. What am I trying to bring out? We go school. There's hardly any family today where you don't have a graduate. So enough of deception. You cannot play politics with blood. You cannot play politics with the life of people. So there is political undertone to some of these things. There's no doubt I share his view.
Thank you very much. We'll move. We'll go on break briefly and just to run some adverts, and we'll be back after this break.
Are you planning for your spiritual or social event and need a conducive venue? Are you organizing campaign programs for your ministry or church? With its serene environment and standard facilities, the Igbo International Ecumenical Center, Abaroto, Delta State is the best choice to have your next retreat, including clergy and wives, leaderships, nights, organizations and societies, conferences, seminars, campaign, dinner, and other Christian social and corporate activities with as low as 3,000 naira per night. And pairing option, you can also enjoy a great time. With its peculiar origin of God asking Mr. Alex Ibru to vacate his private house for divine use, Ibru Center is a special hallowed ground set apart by God himself. We have standby generating sets, library, quiet environment, security facilities, swimming pool, chapel, open field, lounge, restaurant, clinic, board meeting lounge, camping accommodation. The Igbo International Ecumenical Center is managed by the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, but open to all Christian bodies, fellowship, and organizations. For more inquiries or booking, call 090-3970-7143 or 070-5619-3881. Visit our website on www.ibrocenter.org and our email at ibrocenter@yahoo.com. Announcer, Venerable Dr. Prince Will Iroba, the Rector.
Thank you for staying tuned. And this is Christians in Politics. And we have been talking about the influx of the killer herdsmen in Nigeria. And I've had with me Architect Lawrence and Venerable J. Onuaya. Before we went on break, we are dissecting the political angle to this problem. And I want us to look at what is the problem with our political leaders. I look at it of recent, before the president's visit, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was at Benue State. Some political people from the opposition are also going there in the name of condolence visits. But in the actual context, for those of us, just like Venerable said, we all go to school to know that these are political moves. What is the gain in all these things?
We have become a people who are, although human beings, we are inhumane. And whatever gains we get from politics, we don't care about the cost. Like I said, we are human beings, but we are inhumane. So whereas an average person will be wondering why he should not play politics with blood, some other persons see it as an opportunity and an avenue to project whatever project you have. So yes, some people may come there genuinely pained by what is happening, but many others are coming there because they want to be seen to have identified with you at the point of your bereavement, so that they can come and ask you for something eventually.
The governor himself, do you think is actually doing well in this problem?
I wish I could avoid that question, because there's no way it would not be read as political. I am aspiring to take over from him, so my assessment of him may not be the best of it. But if you go back, check what he's done over the last 3 years. Has he done anything really spectacular to have earned perhaps another ticket? I doubt.
But in terms of this open grazing law, okay, let's assume
if you actually go through the history of the open grazing law, you would see that it was not a law that the government itself supported. It was a law that the government was forced to adopt. On several occasions, the people had to literally protest. About this time last year, the people were protesting to the State Assembly. So the law did not come from the governor. The law did not come from the government. The law came from the people. And the people who championed the law were the people under the platform of Movement Against Fulani Occupation, called MAFO. And this group was generally led by about 4 persons who were the main figureheads. Late Pastor Edward Doga, we buried him in January. He was the key figure leading this. You had Pastor Dave Ogbole, who is still in Makurdi. You had Reverend Father Solomon Okeima, who is also one of the leaders of this MAFO. You have Sam Abba. And then you have some of us who were underneath. It was not a government thing. The government only flew on the back of it because it was passed by the State Assembly and the governor assented to it. But Benue people are not bothered about these details because we wanted a law and he signed it into law. Initially, we were not happy when the law was signed in May 2017 and implementation was supposed to start in November. But this is where I give the governor commendations. The law was signed in May and he insisted that we should allow 6 months before implementation in November. Some of us were not happy with it. But eventually we saw the wisdom in that action. I can't take that credit away from him. This was a time frame that these guys were supposed to use to adjust. And they did not. So it's not, back to the question, it's not a government thing. It's a people-oriented law.
Venerable, looking at laws made by states and the backing it also has from the security outfits, and looking at the position of the IG and all sorts, do you think all is well?
All is not well in this country for now. We pray that all will be well. Like, I'm just coming from the National Assembly. I rushed from there to the studio, and the title of my message there was, "Oh God, in your mercy, rebuild the walls of Nigeria." So, if all is well, we cannot be, praying that kind of prayer or preaching that kind of message. You needed to see the prayer that was prayed just now. Now, let me start from the performance of the governor. Well, now he has woken up. He has woken up because the thing is getting close to his nose. It's unfortunate. At the beginning, he was so dormant, so docile. Where was he when people like Fayoshe? Remember, in this studio, there was a time we were the first people to speak against this thing when there was what I call conspiracy of silence about herdsmen in Nigeria. No single human being was ready to speak on it until a program was run on that issue, aired consistently. I thank ACNN because that was a community service, social service to Nigeria. The people ran that program over and over and over until Mr. President opened up and made a statement for the first time on it. Then that eventually opened up. But before then, or around that, I remember I asked question, where were the politicians in Benue? Where is the governor? Where is the senators? I mean, the senators. Where are the rep members? If you recall,
yes.
Why are they keeping quiet? All of them, the senators and all of them, they were all keeping quiet. So to me, he didn't do well at the beginning, but the situation have pushed him now to the wall, and in the circumstance he found himself, like as he said, he's doing his best. That is on the part of the governor. Then on the issue of the security personnel, well, we'll continue to say thank you to security personnel, because for me it's really not an easy job. It's like whenever I always use the issue of armed robbers as a case study. When armed robbers strikes in any point, everyone will be running for his whole life. Then the security men will be running to the spot, and some of them get there and die on the spot. So people doing that kind of job, like the police, the army, they need to be commended, they need to be encouraged, but we can say they are not doing enough, because whether you like it or not, that is the profession you have chosen. That is what Nigerians are paying you to do. I made a comment about what I read about Kogi last night, when citizens and eyewitnesses said they made distress call, they were able to get across to security agency, and for 2 hours no one responded, and they said the distance from the community where people were being massacred to the security point was just about 5 minutes drive. What do you make of such stories? What do you make of the story that is all around that
okay,
Mr. President?
Let me hold you. There's a caller from Umuahia.
Hello?
Obi?
Hello?
Hello?
I'm calling
Obina.
from Obina.
Okay, Obina,
yes,
from Umuahia. Yeah, speak on.
Yes, I'm glad over the topic you have on air. The question I want to ask is, what is actually the problem in Nigeria? Why are some people quiet over the issue of herdsmen in this country? Why are they keeping quiet? Why is this position of keeping quiet? I just want to know.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Mr. Obina just wants to know why we have this quietness.
You know, I said earlier, I talked about conspiracy of silence. And I think many people were really very quiet at the beginning because they were watching to know or to see the body language of the president. Vis-a-vis, you know, he governed this nation before, though on a different platform as a military man. So people knew what happened then. And now he has come back in no more in Agbada now, but no more in khaki, but in Agbada as a Democrat. And they wanted to watch, to be careful. You know, my area, they say if fowl goes to a new environment, he will stand with one leg. Then when he has watched and studied the environment, he can now put the second leg down. I think that was what happened for a while before some people decided to brace the trail and started talking a little. But for me, the politicians have not done enough because they are the representatives of the people. They are the ones supposed to be talking the way we are talking now. They are the ones supposed to put the executive on their toe to make them do what they're supposed to do. But they are not doing enough. Governors, if there were maybe up to about 20 governors talking on this issue, acting on this issue, the way Fayose did and all that, then by now there will be solution to this very problem. So that is on that issue. Then coming back to where I stopped before the caller called, the issue of security. Is it not a funny game, experience for Nigerians to be told that the Inspector General of Police was asked to relocate to Benue, and after how many months now, I didn't know, after 10 weeks, I didn't know that he flouted my order. Then we are hearing that he has been invited to Aso Rock to give account of his activities there. And we are hearing again, if yesterday I read that one fully, that the PRO is saying his Oga was never queried. I just look at the whole embarrassing situation.
There's another caller, Timothy.
People are dying and you are making all this noise.
Timothy from Adamawa. Let's take this call, sir. Hello?
Regarding politicians in
Nigeria,
they should know that there is no office that is worth a life. So the issue of what is happening regarding this Herdsmen is not something that all the politicians should keep quiet. Because if you take a look at it, the instance of what happens in Benue, in Adamawa and Koyo, all these kind of things, the masses are really down by what the government is doing. And from the looking, from what happened in Adamawa here, exactly examples in Newman, and a lot of people who died, of which I was there and I witnessed what government did, and we have some facts of which example of a fact that most of things that happen, the government has a hand, a clear hand. Openly, there is nothing to be hide. Because if you look at what happened in Adamawa State, and there are some calls, there are some details of which the government has a hand. So people have to be, for example, because from the clear indication, what I'm looking over this thing is more of religious something. So people have to have to stood up and stand against this thing, because Christians are dying. Because if you look at what is happening now, it's mostly Christians on that have been killing them. So it's high time for us to stand and speak out for the masses.
Thank you, Mr. Timothy. Thank you for that angle. Before we go back to the issue of security, because we have actually we are looking at the three angles we've picked up: the environmental, the political, and the religious. We are yet to delve into the religious before Mr. Timothy is calling in with that. But before that, I think Akite, you wanted to make a comment on the question Mr. Obina from Huma asked.
Yes. I was going to add to it. He asked why the silence.
Yes.
Simple. It was just for our politicians and everybody to be politically correct.
That's all.
Political correctness, nothing more. We live in an environment where it is perceived that all powers reside in Abuja, irrespective of the fact that Abuja does not vote. So my governor, for instance, too, was not willing to speak out because he's an APC governor in an APC government. So he would not be seen as speaking against his government. Until when he realized that the people were mobilizing against him and telling him, look, we are going to vote you out. We voted you. The power resides in Benue, not in Abuja. And there's something we should observe, something that has seemingly passed under the water, which we may not have paid attention to. 2015 election, everybody, virtually everybody, including the good and the bad, who got elected on the platform of the APC, was flying on the wings of Buhari. They wanted to be identified with him. But now, see what is happening in the National Assembly. They want to reorder the sequence of the elections and put the presidential elections last. People do not want to fly on those powers. This is the reason why you are seeing some semblance of collapsing political correctness. People are saying you don't have so much electoral value like we assumed. And that is why some people are talking. Governor Fayose was talking because he knows his people and his people know him. And he knew that Abuja cannot influence his elections. Many people are only realizing it now. Very few. Some are still not talking. In Benue, how many politicians are talking? How many people who are given the mandate are talking? You know? So it's that false belief that power resides in Abuja. And good 18, the people are mobilizing. That will prove that the power resides with the people. Otherwise, Section 14 sub 2B of the Constitution is clear. Security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. How is that being applied in the case of Benue? You have the exercise, Ayemek Patuma cat race. It's an exercise, it's not an operation. And that is why the security will not run to go and defend the people who are under attack, because they're only doing an exercise. It's not an operation. The governor mentioned it to the president, that there's a need to upgrade it from an exercise to an operation. 2 weeks ago, we went to bury my cousin's wife. We could not get to the village to bury her. We had to stay in Wikpam, and we sent policemen there. We couldn't do the wake keep there. We had to stay in Daudu. And after the Requiem Mass, the service was done, we drove to the grave, buried her with the policemen all around before we came back. And I remember a particular policeman who was agitated and was saying, finish up, let's go. So even these guys don't feel safe. Now there's one question we have not answered. Benue was first attacked on January 1st and 2nd. And these guys are still there. We can't go to our place. For you to sustain a fight from January to this point, for those who understand military tactics, it doesn't take a machete or one gun or one magazine. There's full ammunition for you to sustain it up to this point.
Up to this point.
So they have a forward operating base. It is not about training or the tactics. No matter how strong and tactical you are, if you don't have this equipment, you cannot fight the fight. So we must answer that question. Benue is in the middle of Nigeria. Where did they or how have they brought this ammunition up to this point and sustained this struggle for over 11, 12 weeks? And the security apparatus can do nothing about it. Some guys who survived, some civil defense guys who survived and were visited in the hospital by the governor, they said most of the times we are deployed there to go and die. You cannot send me a Hilux vehicle, an open Hilux vehicle that is not an armored tank, and I'm going to fight a person I am not seeing. But he is seeing me. If you go to my village, Chepila Yagba now, we are surrounded by a water body. They have burnt the 2 bridges that take you to that village. So in your bid to come to my village, they are already positioned and they are seeing you. So they will waste you. So yes, this must be upgraded from an exercise to an operation. And I keep wondering, why do we have an Air Force base in Makurdi when we cannot use helicopters there to do a recce survey? If the government is interested in doing this, they will do it. But they'll wait until perhaps December or January when we'll score political points with it. And we'll say the Herdsmen issue was also technically defeated. So vote me will wipe them out. This is what is happening, painfully as it sounds.
Some people have called for the removal of the IGP, owing to the drama that happened after the directive to relocate and some of the statements that came out from his mouth even before before investigation saying it's a communal clash, and then later the first PRO talking about the governor being a drowning man. Do we think the IG hasn't done well?
Well, it's not in our power to assess the IG from the studio here. The Benue people on ground are in a better position to assess the performance.
But I think they have even assessed him, and they've called for his removal.
Voice popular, voice Dei. The voice of the people sometimes can become the voice of God. That is the power of democracy. If 80% of people in Benue says the IG have not done well as far as they are concerned, that means it has not done well. If 80% of people, 70% of people in Bauchi or wherever, any part of the country where this trouble is going on, says the police or the army have not done well, who am I to say they are wrong? Because they are on ground. So, but like as I said, it's a difficult situation. You can hear the scenario painted where somebody is being deployed, virtually almost armless. He does not have the requisite a weapon to match the people he's going to face. I mean, that is a suicide mission. These are some factors that we need to look at, where government really need to wake up and do something. And I don't see somebody going to meet a person, all these deadly people. These people are ready to die. They are killers. They are ready to die. And they are holding AK-47. You need to know the power of AK-47. We are not professionals. But when our bishop narrowly escaped death years ago in one of the dioceses where I was before, that was where I started fearing AK-47. Because it's not like other guns. I was surprised the jeep he used that they fired on, the bullet entered the back door of the jeep, pierced through, came to the back seat of the bishop that was, pierced through the seat, passed through the, entered the back, come out from the bullet came out from the chest, entered the dashboard, pierced through, and came out on the bonnet of the jeep. You could see the line all through. Then you want to go and face people that are spraying everywhere like that, and you put ask policemen to stay on open pickup van.
Let me hold you, Mr. Michael from Taraba. Okay. Mr. Michael from Taraba, speak on. Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, I'm Mr. Michael calling from Taraba State.
Yeah, you can speak on, sir.
Yeah, I want to talk on the problem with Nigeria. The problem with Nigeria we have today, most I see here is the federal government are quiet, and this is what we've been talking on and on and on. There's no solution to that. Why I'm saying this, in Taraba State, there are attacks of the herdsmen in several villages, of which even the security that being spent there, the order was that anyone that found with ammunition should be arrested. But most of these herdsmen that which hold the weapons, that which even the armies could not have, when they arrest them, they give them back with the weapons. And instead, the DPO, the police headquarters of a certain local government, Saduna local government, there are so many of the casualties that which the herdsmen have injured, they will instead carry them and anchor them again. And you see somebody, a victim that which has been shot by an military with injury on a sick bed, they will even prevent them from striking. They stop doctor from attending to them. What does that mean? Is that creating a peace in the community or aggravating more of a crisis in the community? So this thing you see is getting out of hand. So to create peace in Nigeria, government must have to defend both the ethnic group. Because you will not just be fighting in one side and be keeping the other side safer. Because so many people comment on the media or on the net say the problem with Nigeria is not the herdsmen, because they are there staying in the comfort zone. As I'm talking to you, I have many of the relatives that which house has been burned down, which children have been killed, wives have been killed, husband has been killed by the herdsmen attack. So I see that federal government must have to rise and do something on this. If not, this is not more issue that we take it with one hand. We need two hands to handle the situation. So we are passing through hell here. So I see that the federal government must have to do something, not talking on media every day, and there's nothing we are doing about that. Every day, killing of soul has become one of the Nigeria hobbies. How will we continue in this stage? So this is what I want to say.
Thank you, Mr.
The problem with Nigeria is the government itself.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Thank you for your contribution.
Yes, now we are still on the issue of security
Yes.
and the challenges we are facing. And I was talking about the issue of not being armed enough. To match some of these enemies that are rising up from left and right. Then having said that, I think what is happening now is underscoring the point that Nigerians have been making over the years, that it's a high time we go for state policing system. This system where by something is happening in Benue, something is happening in Edo State, then you are waiting for an order to come from Abuja, is not helping us, and it's not going to help us. I thank God. I think not too long ago, even the vice president himself was throwing some kind of weight behind the idea of state police, which people have argued and argued. The only point they have against state police is that the governors will use the state police on perceived opponents. But what of federal government? Has federal government not also done that over the years? In the case of Rivers State was very glaring, when things were happening there and police will not do something about it. When the opponent want to organize rally, they will deploy the police to go and scatter the rally. So, the argument doesn't really hold any ground. We need a system whereby the chief security of the state should be able to do something. If the state has the power, the state assembly have the power to make laws, then they should not depend on the federal government to help them implement it. That is what is happening in Benue. Exactly. The governor has signed the law, but is the law working? Because the powers above are not interested. So the same thing will happen in Edo State, because they have been killing. Last week, they also killed 5 persons in Edo State. The governor, Godwin Obaseki, have given them 7 days automatic for the security to produce the killers. But the question is, if they did not produce the killer, what is he going to do? Is he in charge? So it's not in charge. Then I learned that Dan Obi, the PDP state chairman for Edo State, said in the news yesterday that PDP have drafted anti-open grazing law, and they have passed it to the State House of Assembly, and they will soon start working on it. How are they going to implement it with the situation? Has Benue won't be implemented now?
Yeah,
so these are the issues.
There is Yakubu from Abuja. Mr. Yakubu, welcome to Christians in Politics. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Yakubu, speak on.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Speak on. Yeah, speak on. You are on.
Yes, I'm on.
Yes.
Yeah, I listened to the conversation very well. Yeah, and the gentleman really explained things very well, especially the issue of state policing. We think that will even solve the problem. The same government are the people that organize the state police, and the same people having the federal government police. And these people must wait for order. Even something is happening in my state, they just have to wait the order from the above. So the case is almost the same thing. The only thing, my advice to the federal government, please, they should stop politicizing or politicizing the issue of security. All these things, for my own seeing, is just a politics. When you are a commissioner of police or a governor of a state, you are waiting for order while they call you that you are the chief security of a state, and you are now waiting for order in order to save people's lives. While people are there killing every day, every night, they are killing people, and you are waiting for order. Are you a good governor? Are you a good commissioner? Let's tell ourselves the truth. Even the Bible does not say you must wait for the last order like that. Obey. I should obey, not to wait the last order. My brother, it's just politics. But I sympathize with those people that have been killed for the innocence, not for their sake or not for their sin. They have been killed for nothing's sake, and God will see them through. May God bless all of you there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu.
Thank you.
So he was just saying that even the state police, it will still go back to receiving order from the government house.
Myself talking to you, my eldest brother from the same parents is a police officer in the UK. My elder brother is a British police officer, is a detective, and is heading the city of Yorkshire. He doesn't need to wait for order from the above, because he's responsible for whatever happens in that very place. And he could lose his job for not taking proper control of that very territory. And it is because of the way the police is structured. If the police is structured in such a way that until you get an order from Inspector General of Police in Abuja, you cannot do anything, then you cannot do anything. But if there is state police and the country is restructured, there will be measure of authority residing in the whatever title they are going to call it. We look, the person heading the police in the state will be directly responsible to the governor. And because the IG can be hired and fired by only the federal government. Under state policing system, the head of the police apparatus in the state can be hired and fired by the governor, who is the chief security officer of that very state. So under that circumstance, the governor of Benue can tell his police commissioner or IG, you will call him in Benue, do this, and he will do it. And if he refuses to do it, he cannot escape. Look at what was happening in Rivers. When all those ugly incidents, just see the governor is helpless. In Benue now, the governor is completely helpless. He's speaking like ordinary man, like me. He's just helpless, my brother.
Actually, you wanted to add some things to this.
Yes, perhaps just to build on it. You know, the Constitution actually makes it that way. The Commissioner of Police cannot take any directives from the governor. He only takes directives from the IG. And we are also passionately in support of the state police. There are arguments for and against. Some of them, they hold sway. Some of them, they don't make sense. For instance, somebody had said sarcastically, but it made sense. He said, if a state cannot pay salaries, can it actually pay the police that would now be added to his workforce? The answer to that question goes back to restructuring.
When there is restructure,
states have a lot of potentials.
But
because of the feeding bottle cashier kind of governance we run, where at the end of the month you run to Abuja and collect allocation. We have people who are not thinking at the state. If people are really thinking, it can actually take care of that. We support state police. But again, many a times people assume that once it's not copied hook, line and sinker from the UK or from the US, then it will not work. We are here, we vote people into the legislative houses every 4 years. If the laws were okay, there will be no need to vote anybody, like you have in a military setup. But this is a legislature. It's supposed to be evolving. If a law is not adequate, the House is supposed to amend that law. So if we have a state police, it must not necessarily copy what is in the US or in the UK. We can actually design and craft what is favorable to our society. If in the course of practice we realize that it is not workable, then you amend the law. That is why the legislature is there. Sometimes I feel we should not recite the powers to appoint the head of the police in the state with the governor. I feel it should reside with the legislature, the chief judge. Sorry, not the legislature, the judiciary, the chief judge. I raised that issue in the course of a discussion, and somebody said you cannot appoint somebody from across the arms of government. You can't appoint an executor from the judiciary. But I said, which law stops us from doing that? If it is what favors us, so be it. Yes, the governor is a politician. The chief judge is not a politician. He can critically review the CVs of the people who are presented and pick the right person.
Or possibly the legislator and the judiciary handles it. Possibly
he can be nominated by the chief judge and then screened by the legislature and then appointed by the governor. This way you know that it has passed through a process of cleaning. I don't think we should be stuck with some of the things we have here and think that we cannot work ourselves out.
I think it's fear of change that is killing us.
That is it.
Well, what we have is not working.
It's not working.
I think
so why don't you leave it?
Before we round up on the program, there is one last aspect that we've not actually take due diligence to deal with. That's the religious aspect. And like a caller from Adamawa made mention that some of these things are actually about religious, and some people also believe in that there's a little religious undertone to what is going on. Most of the places that are being burnt down, that are being swept off, are Christian communities. Venerable,
I've always said this. I'm not afraid to say it again and again. There's religious agenda, and it's clear. We are not babies. That's why I said before we went to school, you cannot tell me there's no religious agenda. What is even happening now is propagating a particular religion with AK-47. Let me just tell you that. Do you see the modus operandi of these very people? They go to a community, sack it completely, burn down the houses, destroy whatever they find there, drive the human beings away. The one that they cannot kill, they drive them away completely. And at the end of the day, they occupy the place. Then once they occupy, they must worship. Before you know it, a mosque has appeared. And from there, they made progress. Now, within this space of 3 years, you need to see the influx of people to the south, to the west, to the east, and wherever they are now, the indigenes, the Christians are running because they are being killed and no one is stopping them. They have no arms, but the so-called herdsmen who belongs to a particular religion are parading themselves with AK-47, are killing with impunity, and no one is stopping them. And the Christians are running, and these people are coming in, pushing forward, and they are establishing their mosque. And you tell me there's no religious agenda? Huh? Like Dino Melaye, Senator Dino Melaye, say if you talk, you go die. If you not talk, you go die. So let's call spade a spade. Let's tell ourselves the truth. If it is Christian that were holding AK-47, you think they will be allowed to be parading themselves in the name of herdsmen? Let's be realistic now. See, we believe in brotherhood. See, most of my friends are Muslims. I believe we can work together as one. Because even as a priest, I don't think I should push my religion to the point of sharing innocent blood or taking the life of another person. What does my God gain from that? So, but we must tell ourselves the truth. There's a religious agenda here. This thing is spreading. The pronouncement of Otman Danfodio is being realized by the day. Even with this herdsmen, something I see an agenda here. Otherwise, tell me, why are people keeping quiet? What other reason are you going to advance for that? Why people are really keeping quiet? I came to Abuja in 2011, and I can tell you that the same Abuja that I saw then It's not what it is now. Almost every corner now along the street, you know, a particular religion is establishing churches along the road, blocking everywhere, and people are not talking. If you are a Christian, if you go and ask for City of O to build a fellowship center along any of these streets in Wuse area, will it be granted? Do you know how many streets in Wuse area now that are now being blocked, which were not being blocked? Mosque was not there 5 years ago, 4 years ago, but now they are building all this. Go to Life Camp. Go any corner, they just put mat there. Before you know it, first of all you arrange block round, and before you know it, they plaster. Before you know it, a canopy will stand. Before you know it, it has become a major mosque along the road. I'm gonna keep it quiet. We are saying there's no religious agenda here. Who is deceiving who? See, in my village, go and see what they are doing. They don't reach our village everywhere. They are erecting mosques in our farms and everywhere, and extending their something to Atlantic Ocean. And the earlier we stop all this stupid argument that some people is political, is that there's religious agenda. Since Nigeria was put under Islamic organization, the agenda has been on. You remember when Islamic banking issue started? We went into that. I don't want to go into details of what transpired, but at the end of the day, I can tell you, I went to the central bank to interrogate even people at the cadre of the very executive cadre, directors, and they said they don't know what is this mad rush. Why the CBN governor is pushing every person, that even they themselves, the directors, are not being carried along, that there's an agenda here. And what was the agenda? It was because the ministers of Islamic countries, a confederation, were coming to Nigeria to hold meeting to find out the level of implementation of their agendas, especially on the economic level. That was why the CBN governor was running ahead of Mr. President and implementing, because he wanted to satisfy people outside that are coming to have ministers meeting in Nigeria. And you tell me there's no agenda? My brother, there's agenda.
Okay, let me
on
take
issues,
some of
on issues like this.
Yes,
I like to lay bare the things I have, and I allow people to judge, so that I don't categorically conclude. Let's look at the places that this crisis have really affected. It affected Borno and Yobe and Adamawa, the Boko Haram crisis. The herdsmen issue is affecting Benue. It's affecting Kaduna South.
Kaduna South.
It's affecting Taraba. It's affecting Plateau. It's affecting Kogi. Now, there's something about these areas is affected. None of these areas has an emir. None of the areas I've mentioned.
Do you hear that?
None has an emir or an emirate council. In Borno, you have El Kanami of Borno. You don't have an emir. Then you now notice that this religion, an emir is supposed to be a traditional head, but the supposed traditional head doubles as the religious head. Yeah. And that is why whosoever sits as the Sultan of Sokoto automatically becomes the chairman for Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in Nigeria. And the places where you have emirs, all the emirs are Fulani by blood, irrespective of where they are. Is it in Lafia? Is it in Suleja? As the case may be. And all these places...
Okay, can you hold on? I think there is a caller, Reverend Victor from Delta. Reverend Victor, you are on, sir.
Hello. Victor, Michael from Delta State.
All right, sir. Speak on, sir.
I would like to really say something about this influx, deadly influx of killers of these herdsmen in Nigeria.
Okay, sir.
The truth is that if we really keep quiet, we are going to be in trouble. So I want to sincerely say that we should speak up. We should speak up. I am not comfortable with what is happening in this country. And I don't think any right-thinking man should be comfortable. I've been listening to you since. How do you explain this? that if a particular man or a woman from a religion, let's say the Christian, ordinary machetes, you cannot go freely with it without being questioned. But for a particular person who will be carrying AK-47 moving without being questioned, it is the truth. I believe that some people behind funding them who are in the power, because if they are not the people that is in power, they wouldn't have allowed them to go like that. So I am saying this, but they should not forget that this Nigerian belongs to God. They cannot force us from here. The Lord God will empower the people that will stand and defend their territory. God will empower them and empower us. So, but I believe once again that when the time comes, it will materialize. When you have chased a particular animal to the fence, it will turn back. And when it turns back, I'm sorry, what is going to happen may not be too easy. So I want to repeat, what they think they are doing now, they think they have succeeded. But we Southerners and we Christians, we should know that this country belongs to our Father. We should not be afraid of it. And our people in government, they should speak up. They should speak up, or else they will kill us and occupy all our lands. So I read it some time ago, whether they said Nigeria belongs to them from north even to the sea, that we are their tenants. But it shouldn't be so. Shouldn't be so. So to conclude this, I want to thank the ACNN, and I want to thank the people that have been discussing. I pray that God will continue to protect you and continue to shield you. The Lord will protect your family, protect your children. And I'm also asking that God will give you the boldness to continue to speak the truth. And God will give the people also ear to listen to us. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Victor from Delta. You were just laying foundation on the religious aspect of this from the north.
I simply wanted my viewers to also reason along the same lines with me. We have laid all of this down. And you know, clandestinely, for those of us in Benue, I remember as far back as 2013, 2014, prior to the full escalation of this crisis, there were these subtle appeals to have an emirate established in Makurdi. And the argument was, oh, it's not going to have any business to do with your people. It is to control our own people. Now, the herdsmen too have this argument. They say, oh, we need to have our leader, an Ardo, who will take care of the people. This is how it subtly comes in. But on a general note, I believe it is still politics using a religious platform. Now, most of these foot soldiers are not even really religious. But they give them an impression that this is about the religion. And we have seen people use politics, use religion to promote politics. It is still in this country that we had a governor who instituted Sharia, which ordinarily, and several of them have followed. Sharia is supposed to be a religious thing, but is now being promoted by political people. Now, where am I driving at? We have a people who are basically politicians, but in the absence of anything tangible to hold on to and sustain into power, they put their legs in several places. So consciously, they are also using the religion to promote their politics. It's one of the ingredients used in building. And then the people who are supposed to be the religious leaders too, they are not complacent. They know that it is helping them in pushing their cause. And so they are willingly co-opted into the whole process. There's a whole lot of religious angle to it. But I see it tilting in the direction of politics, not really in the direction of evangelization for real evangelization. Okay. This is what I think.
We are going to drop the... Okay, before we drop the curtain today, there is a caller from Sokoto. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
John Paul, yeah, you are on.
John Paul, hello, I'm John Paul from Sokoto.
All right, sir.
And I'm happy to witness this live broadcast.
All right, sir.
And my contribution to this is... Hello?
Yeah, you are on. Go on.
So is that these people, they plan it well, And I want us, apart from praying, we should start to fight. Not to keep quiet every day. We have people that matter in politics, but because of money, they don't want to come out and say what is in their mind. They are our people, they are killing our people every day. We don't have free to go out to preach our own gospel. These people that are every day with AK-47, with knives, in our own home, in our village. All the heads of the community, because of money, they are killing our people. Innocent blood being shed every day. So look at our governor is there in Kogi State. People are dying in Kogi every day. Of the truth, I'm a Christian. But I told my people, I said they should defend themselves.
So, Mr. John, what do you think should be the solution, sir?
The solution to this is that the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. The word that those that were buried. That's what the Bible says. Who that send into the hills of the Lord? He that has a clean heart and a pure heart. We Christians, we have a clean heart and a pure heart. Let them come that the God of Israel is still alive. The God that David used to fight Goliath is still alive. So
okay,
let us go in prayer and go physically with our own mind. Even if we cannot get AK-47, we should use everything we have to fight ourselves, to defend ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm tired.
Thank you. That's a feeling from someone that is very tired of what is going on. And well, why wouldn't people start getting this emotion about on this station? We wouldn't advise people go on with or machete or whatever, but just like he has said, we need to rise up to this. But I think we are going to continue this conversation in the next episode, looking into this religious aspect, because there's an overview of it and there is a comprehensive point of it. Someone mentioned the fact that the Christians are not united. Now, these are some of the things we are going to be looking at the next episode. I want to appreciate Architect Lawrence for coming. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And Venerable J.O. Nwaya, thank you for taking out your time today, sir, to be on this program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to all our viewers at home, we want to appreciate you for being there today. Join us same time, same station next week for another episode of this program, Christians in Politics. And we shall be discussing more on the issue of herdsmen and some other things that are happening in the country. Thank you for staying with us. I am Korede Akitunde. God bless you.